Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the long-awaited, the much-lauded, the oft pre-celebrated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the only episode of this podcast that is officially rated nice. It's episode 69 of Longtime Watcher, First Time Writer. As always, I am, of course, your host, your longtime watcher, King Fats 96, 95th even, and I am joined by a crew of fantastic first-time writers, which includes B-Drops.
Hello.
And the Iliandic Nonagon.
Salutations.
We are unfortunately sans one action Shakespeare this evening, as she is not feeling well. She has caught the illness.
She exploded in a human crash.
What's a human? Is that when two humans collide?
Yes.
Like at an intersection?
Yes, at an intersection of a sidewalk on the way to the recording booth. It was tragic.
Shakes exploded.
The recording booth that we definitely have and use.
Yes.
Recording booth that we definitely have and use that... Don't worry about its proximity to a Mexican restaurant, which is why you can sometimes hear music through my recording. Listen, we had to buy the property on the cheap.
Yeah, it's not a good recording booth.
There's only so much soundproof padding we can afford, which is none.
It's really, it's fully not.
Not enough to matter. That's
at the very least.
That's math I've done.
But we press on regardless, because let's be honest, I don't know if this show specifically requires. I don't think Kamen Rider Black has earned soundproofing.
What?
Like, I think other Kamen Riders have earned it, but like not Black, not Ichigo. They don't get to have soundproofing. They haven't earned it.
Oh no, the honeymoon phase is officially worn off, it seems.
A little bit.
Well, I think it did, actually, when we decided we would start covering 5 episodes.
5 episodes at a time? Yeah, when we said, alright, let's get on with it, motherfucker.
Yeah, this really is kind of... This still is a same era as Ichigo. We can feel it in our bones.
Which is genuinely very fun. It's also very fun to... Hey, I get to do my own little first long-time watcher, first-time writer, because I've started watching them with Fiona. And just those reactions alone, you're like, okay, right, this is still Kamen Rider. Perhaps if we were a little bit more intelligent, we would have done like a 3-part deep dive, each like 8 hours long, standard YouTube essay kind of stuff.
We didn't know how much meat there would be in any given show until we started it. Say for Kuga, given that one person here had already seen it, but I think we were being generous.
I'm still wondering, are we, to completely ruin the meat metaphor, has the hamburger even arrived yet, or have we already eaten it?
Oh man.
Well, spoilers aside, for a moment, I think there is some meat here in this batch of episodes. I can't say that this is the meatiest series.
Yeah, listen. What I'm from a purely numbers standpoint, right? Okay, we're doing episodes 33 through 37 of a 51 episode series. Purely mathematically, we are in the middle of the burger right now. Now, is it the heartiest burger I've ever eaten? Hell to the fuck no. This is McDonald's. But we are in the meat.
We are.
I'm curious to know if these episodes, like, so far we've had, smashed patty. And I'm wondering if that's the entirety of this hamburger, because I have a blindfold on and I can't, see it.
I would describe this as, it's like when you have a burger wherein the meat patty is smaller than the bun, and in our case, the meat patty is kind of pushed further back, so it takes longer to get to it. So maybe we tackled it diagonally, so, your first bite, our first couple episodes had a little bit of plot, and then we're just hitting bun for a while, as we're just blindly going at it. We've started hitting meat again, but, I don't know, it's not bad. I think the show can be compelling when it focuses on its plot, and I do appreciate when it does that. And this is a surprising, for a Showa era Kamen Rider, this is a surprisingly plot-dense set of episodes.
Yeah,
It
like,
really is.
I kept being, cynical about it because I'm so used to Monster of the Week. And I kept having to say in my notes of like, well, I'll be damned that was actually like an episode. It had a beginning, a middle, and dare I say it, it even had to be continued. And
Oh my goodness.
Well, Jikai?
yeah, and speaking of which episodes are these, by the way, for the folks at home?
Yeah, for the folks at home, as I mentioned, episodes 33 through 37, we're going to be talking about them. So that is episode 33, The River of a Father and Child's Love. Episode 34, Revival, Hell Prince. Episode 35, Showdown, Two Princes. Episode 36, The War Declaration of Love and Death. And episode 37, Memories Are Yubari's Sky. Quick rundown of the air dates. Episode 33, original air date, May 29th, 1988. Episode 34, original air date, June 5th. Welcome to Pride Month, Kamen Rider. Episode 35, original air date, June 12th. Episode 36, original air date, June 19th. And episode 37, original air date, June 26th. So, this chunk of episodes takes us all the way through Pride. Going over the synopses real quick, in episode 33, The River of a Father and Child's Love, Kotaro must help a boy realize he can walk again even while trying to stop a Golgum plot of manipulating a river to cause chaos. Now here's where the fun part comes in for me, as the guy whose job is to explain everything up front so we can talk freely about the episodes. Episodes 34, 35, and 36 are probably the only episodes of this entire fucking show on this wiki with an expanded synopsis to deep dive into. Yep, we found the meat of the goddamn burger, which I must now reduce into a sentence because these are like 3-paragraph long plot synopses. 34, 35 are essentially a two-parter about resurrecting Shadow Moon and fighting Brigania. Golgum priests kidnap Kyoko to use her life force to resurrect the Shadow Moon, so Kotaro and Kyoko trying to escape from Golgum, and Kyoko having found out that Kotaro is the Kamen Rider. And episode 36 shows Shadow Moon having been successfully revived. The Golgum High Priests also come back, which is a minor spoiler that we'll get into, and the battle against the newly formed Golgum begins officially. It's a bit to unpack, because, hey, we have interconnected episodes again. Well, what the fuck?
The one thing we didn't think we'd have.
Yeah. And then episode 37, a mutant attack on a friend's wedding in Hokkaido leads to Katsumu becoming Golgum's tool, forcing Kotaro to pursue them in order to save her from their grasp. So, right back into the shit. It's really a sandwich. It really, truly, the burger metaphor is so apt. Because you have these two end slices of fucking bullshit Monster of the Week bread, and in between it is a show sandwich.
I almost feel like the last episode wasn't Monster of the Week. I'm not entirely sure.
It's kind of not. Here's the thing. It is not in that it references stuff that happened previously. I feel like it is more so just kind of establishing the new world order of Monster of the Week.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but I think
we're kind of
true.
reestablishing the same old shit. We've reset our pieces on our fucking board.
I'm mad about the potential of that episode. It frustrates me, but we'll get to that.
That's so fucking fair.
It's now time to talk about disability rap band Kamen Rider Black.
And hey, listener.
Hey, listener.
It's not great.
It's not great.
I think it was on record last time when I said that I was betting that the word psychosomatic was going to be dropped at some point.
Oh, man.
It was not technically. It was not technically heavily implied, though.
Listen, the point is B shot his shot, and he called it. They call him never miss B drops on account of he don't fucking miss.
I wanted to miss this time. I wanted to be wrong about a show that was like, it's a sad boy in a wheelchair, and I'm like, this is gonna be a story about how this boy can actually walk if he only believed in himself. And unfortunately, I was right. Granted, the backstory was
Fully
really
bullshit.
It's so ridiculous, but like, I don't know, I find it weirdly tragic.
No, it's definitely sad. It's just also like fully bullshit.
Oh, of course. So the little child protagonist of this episode, his name is Toru, and he is, in a wheelchair for most of the episode. And we learn that his tragic backstory is essentially he fell off of a cliff while being chased by a bear in the woods. And when he told people what happened, when he got taken to the hospital and he was recovering, and it was like, oh my god, what happened? You fell off a cliff. He was like, I was being chased by a bear. For whatever reason, nobody believed him. And this damaged his psyche so much that he took upon himself the label of liar that all the adults forced upon him. They all said he was a liar. He said everyone called him a liar, so he just decided to live with that label. And internalizing that so much within himself hindered his ability to believe that he'd heal and walk again, essentially.
He literally got gaslit into thinking this, and
Why, like, the plot holes are frequent and massive. Why would you be being chased by a bear? Why would a bear chase you off of a cliff? Why would no one believe you about that? How could you be injured in such a way by this accident that you would somehow make yourself believe you can't walk?
Everyone was, I assume, just so callous in their, just their rigidity in believing he was a liar. Whether he was truly chased by a bear or not, I think doesn't negate the fact that he believed he was chased by a bear and it led to him falling off a cliff, and disproving whether there was a bear doesn't change his situation and what he believed happened, and it doesn't improve his recollection of what happened to deny whether it happened or not, whether the bear exists or not. Like, it's not like they were going to do anything about it if it did, I imagine.
Yeah.
They were going to go hunt the bear. I just think it's weirdly callous. Whether it was feasible or not, why would you just look at this little boy who fell off a cliff and be like, stop lying?
It's also, like, weirdly pathetic.
True. You got chased by a bear?
No, you didn't.
The weird, pathetic, like, no you didn't, of someone being like, I was chased by a bear. Like, why do you feel the need to refute that? Like,
yeah. What do you have to lose here? What makes you feel insecure about this exchange?
Like, yeah, like, surely, unless someone had, like, Cancer 2, the sequel to Cancer, and then this shit happened to Toru at the same time, and he was like, oh, I hurt my legs because I was chased by a bear. Maybe then I could understand you being like, hey, can you, like, stop feigning for attention right now? We're kind of trying to deal with Cancer 2. There's this little boy, and he has the sequel to Cancer, and John Cena isn't alive yet to grant his Make-A-Wish. God. So could you, like, maybe chill out for, like, 5 minutes, Toru?
There is one line that I would like to believe just because it makes the writing a little better, but I am making assumptions. There is a line wherein, when his father is about to, deliver his backstory to Kotaro once he gets involved, once he meets this family, and the boy says, oh, he saw a monster, and the father says that Toru has a history of lying, and then gives the backstory. And on paper, you're meant to believe that the backstory is the lie, that the bear that chased him off a cliff is the lie, and I want to make the assumption that he's always been a little liar, a boy that cried wolf situation, which would be the only way that this all makes more sense.
Yeah, if every other week fucking Kotaro's fallen, or Toru's fallen off of something because he got chased by a something, at, like, Cliff chased by a bear, I'm like, yeah, alright, sure, man. Cool. How's your shit? Can you not walk? Ah, gee, I'm sure you'll get better. Bye.
But also, he's like 11, if that.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, that almost makes it more plausible.
Yeah, this is a young kid just learning about linguistics and how to use them to communicate information. Like, it's...
How dare you use the words linguistics here? Please continue.
And you're like, oh, I can't believe this child is a pathological liar.
I can. I'll believe that one in a second.
I
Children
would
love
believe it.
lying about shit.
I would believe it more if he lied at all, ever, in this episode.
Well, that's
True.
true.
Like, he's clearly not a pathological liar, even though, like, it would be feasible if he was, and I think it would, lend more credence to his backstory. But he's only been forthright and honest in the entire episode. There's not a single instance of him lying and then being like, no, but this one thing is true, I swear, this is important, and nobody believing him.
Well, to be fair, it's also not like he says or does much this episode.
He crawls around a whole lot.
He wheels around all over the place. He refuses to walk. He talks to his dad's son and he sees a fish. That is his contribution to this episode.
Should we talk about the fish?
We should talk about that horny-ass fish.
Wait, what?
He sure is. Salmon go through a pretty literal transformation during mating season, and this design is very clearly based off of salmon during that period.
Which makes sense considering his power.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun take. I thought it was a fun power to give a monster. Like, it's weirdly niche, though. I think it would be interesting.
It's so weirdly niche. I was looking at a note I had from when they were talking about his plan, where I was like, why has he been in the ocean for 50,000 years? How long have you been planning this shit? None of what you do makes any sense.
I had to look it up because I didn't know how long salmon existed. Apparently, they've been on Earth for approximately 6 to 7 million years.
Holy shit!
But apparently, they used to be like 3 meters long.
Oh
back
shit!
In their
they
early
used to be
days.
fucking salmonids.
So it's him. He's the original salmon.
This is just, he's not even a mutant. They just kept a
Yeah.
regular salmon alive.
This is the dude that causes the big run. He's gonna be the newest fucking Splatoon DLC boss.
Yeah, Mr. Grizz is gonna give me, like, a paperclip to go fight this guy. He's like a salmon in heat, but there are certain parts of his face that almost make me feel like they were also kind of drawing inspiration from zombie salmon. He's got, what would you call it, the cloudy, like, cataracty kind of eyes, and he's got this, like, white mottled face.
Now explain to me what the zombie salmon is, because you should have just dropped that real casual.
Oh, if you've never heard of a zombie salmon, essentially salmon mate and then they die, but their body rapidly deteriorates. Look this up at your own discretion because you will be basically looking up pictures of rotting zombie fish. But their bodies rapidly deteriorate after mating, and some of them survive a little bit during this process. And they become what is called zombie salmon.
Why are salmon so fucked up?
I don't know, they're so cool though.
What's with salmon? What are you guys doing?
Like, sometimes you think you understand any organism on the face of this earth, and then you learn about any fish or bug, and it changes everything. Salmon are freaks.
It has the same energy as, like, the spider webs are basically an extension of its entire body and eyes.
True, yeah. It's like, what do you mean? How does that work? What are you talking about? Should we talk about the air quotes plan in this one?
Yes.
So the plan, and I say plan in air quotes because, well and truly, what the fuck? So they're causing a river to flow backwards upstream, which is going to drain out a... Is it a dam or is it a watershed?
It's a little, cave along a river. reversing the flow of the river did cause a lot of havoc. Like, there was, like, I can't remember what you said, a dam or something like that. That got broken down. They're killing the local wildlife living within the river. There's also a little cave at the mouth of the river that gets hollowed out when they reverse the water's flow.
Yeah, the important part of the plan is that they have hollowed out this cave by reversing the flow of the water.
It's so funny that that's the important part of the plan. Not like disrupting the local ecosystem, not disrupting getting hydroelectric power from the flow of this river. No, we want this little cave to be empty. And when they reverse the flow of this river, there's a man fishing nearby, and he catches sight of this, and it sucks him into the cave with all of the water, and I presume it drowns him. And I just think that's really funny.
It is very funny.
I don't believe we actually got confirmation that he was drowned, but is he counted in the death count?
He is.
Yay.
I feel like there's enough evidence there to presume that he died. I'll admit it's slightly generous, but it is a scenario wherein if he did not receive help, he would be dead, as opposed to a lack of confirmation of anything capable of causing his death happening to him on screen.
Given Kotaro's ambivalence and apathy towards this whole, like, everything that the Backwards River does, he's probably dead, yeah.
Yeah, we do not see this man again. One more thing before we describe the rest of the plan regarding the cave. When this breaks the news, and our main cast is watching it, and they're learning about what's going on, Katsumi says, like, the most, like, weird, out-of-pocket thing. It's just really fun. She's like, maybe this is the river taking revenge on us for constantly misusing it and abusing it and taking what we want from it. And I'm like, where's this coming from? This is such a healthy river.
I remember I had a note because for whatever reason, she, like, delivers this line while she has a fucking stack of, like, books on her. And there's been evidence previously that she's going to college.
It definitely has the energy of you need a topic for a debate in philosophy class.
True!
Yeah, honestly. The river does not need gratitude. Water is so graciously nourishing. It has no conscience. And the river is healthy. Also, there is no evidence whatsoever that this river was being misused or polluted or tainted by humans. The little boy's father apparently works in maintaining the ecosystem of this river, so it's being cared for. I don't know what kind of theory Katsumi was on, thinking the river woke up and was mad at people.
She was smoking that shit for real.
These like, there's a message in these episodes are bonkers to me, because, like, there's this, like, weird environmental, like, almost quip out of nowhere that could have been, like, an episode theme in its entirety, and that's never brought up again. Then the actual theme is this kid is lying, is not actually disabled in any way, and the people who are telling him to just get over it are right. And it's insane.
While they don't necessarily take their time with it, I do believe in the psychosomatic aspects of his case. I do believe, based on the scenes, particularly when he does try to walk again for the first time, he really, really struggles. And his recovery is really quick and ham-fisted and not handled as well as it could have. But I truly believe in my heart of hearts that if you threw that kid out of the chair, he could not do more than catch himself before the ending.
I definitely think you could have made a more psychosomatic sort of angle work, but it feels, at least to me, a little icky, considering this is probably the only episode that we'll have with any sort of representation like this. And
oh, absolutely,
so
yeah.
It's just like, I can see what they might have been going for, but I don't know if it
landed.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. This was definitely not an episode about disability representation whatsoever. This was about a little boy learning to have hope and
Courage.
faith.
Yeah, listen. This was about how you can fly to the moon if you believe in yourself.
Yeah, it's pixie dust, except allegorically walking with your feet.
With your feet. And then stand there with your shirt.
Circling back to the plot with the cave, though, they have decided that they're going to hollow out this little cavern, and then they snatch up little Toru, and they glue him to the wall to lure Kamen Rider in, and they're like, "Give us the King's Stone, or we'll flood the cave and kill the child." Ooh. And I think I don't really have much more to say about this episode. I think it's really funny, though, how the boy is freed by Road Sector getting called in and just blasting the kid with, like, hot exhaust.
Burns really his funny. Whole shit.
It's so funny.
Absolutely annihilates that little boy.
That it's the same effect for, like, Road Sector uses the hot exhaust on the salmon monster, and then immediately the kid...
It's so funny because you can see them recoil in pain when it happens to them, when it happens to the salmon monster and the Golgum priests. But the kids, he takes it like a champ, I guess.
He must simply be built different.
Yeah.
Maybe he really doesn't feel anything in his legs and is only getting 50% of the pain.
You know?
What a stupid thing to say. I hope everybody knows I'm kidding.
I had it pointed out to me that it would have been a really nice subversion of the plot that they kind of were going with and ended up going with, actually. If, like, Kamen Rider was like, "Hey, I actually believe that you can't walk, and I'm not gonna try to convince you that you can, because I don't think you can, because I also hold secrets, and I'm Kotaro," kind of deal.
Yeah, Kuga would have done it.
Yeah, and as it was being described, I'm like, that's a Kuga moment.
Yeah, that's a Kuga moment. Put it up on the board, boys. That's a Kuga moment.
Oh, that is a good idea, though. I like that. It's a shame that that's not remotely what happened, of course.
It's a shame that we're watching Black and not Kuga.
Also, want to point out, despite all the criticism we're throwing at this episode, I think this child actor has actually been one of our better ones.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Genuinely, I'm just sad that the script wasn't better, because I feel like the kid could have done much more. And that's not a statement that I've ever said on this podcast of, the script is not performing to the actor's abilities when talking about a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
That's so fair.
Incredibly rare. Shout out to our other set of child actors that I think did a very good job in our last episode of this batch, who I think did a very good job for a very different reason, which we'll get to. Like, the only other thing that we didn't really touch on is Burgania helps with this one, kinda. And they're like, there's some Burgania priests angle shooting. I'm like 99% sure it amounts to Dick All. But please tell me if I'm forgetting something important about Burgania being out in this episode.
I don't recall it being particularly important.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Next episode is the one where it becomes important that Burgania is here.
I think we're going to be able to talk pretty freely about these next few episodes because it's just continuous plot, and that's going to be so refreshing.
Yeah, holy shit, right? We start hot. We start hot off the presses, where the Golden Priests are like, all right, we're kidnapping Kyoka. We're gonna steal her, we're gonna use her, we're gonna revive the Century King. We're
Second
gonna do
time's the
that.
charm.
Yeah, second time. DJ, run that shit back. Which the show also makes a point to tell you, hey, they've done this shit before. But
It's
last
so
time,
funny.
It's so funny.
The narrator pauses and it's like, Kotaro remembers. It's really funny. They lure her out with the news that Nobuhiko is like wandering the streets. They send out a monster that's taken on his visage.
It's not a monster. It's
oh right, no.
Barum.
Yeah, he goes out disguised as Nobuhiko and kidnaps her, and then when Kotaro and Katsumi come back to the cafe, they see a little note. I found Oni-chan at the hospital. I'm good with the It's all a ruse, obviously. Kotaro goes and gets jumped.
By the king of the jobbers, Batman.
Oh my god, I'm sick of this. Wait, I feel like I had a really stupid... Yes, I have a really stupid note. I was kind of tired when I watched this episode. When Kotaro gets jumped and the Batman pops up on screen, my note reads, sick of this Batman. Alternatively, maybe we're beginning to form a bond from all this proximity. Maybe he's a friend yet to be made. Perhaps he feels the same way about us.
Oh, now these fucking podcast assholes again.
And maybe that mutual hatred will eventually turn into mutual respect.
Hopefully.
That's kind of what happened with Batman and Guga.
I mean, yeah.
Like, legitimately, we kind of shat on him for so long that after a while we started to come around. And then he transitioned and had his hot boy summer, and we were like, fuck yeah, Queen, fuck it up. So proud of him, honestly. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Unfortunately, this is a Showa-era Kamen Rider, and I don't believe he's going to get anything here.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Which is a shame, because he's such a common lackey that I want him to be relevant somehow.
I'm kind of endeared in the way that I feel like the way he is used, almost to the point of, like, Venture Brothers side character.
He's Brick Frog.
Yeah, he's Brick Frog!
Brick Frog! I love you, Brick Frog.
Hey listeners, I know this sounds like a non sequitur, but actually genuinely, if you like some of the silly, goofy nonsense of Kamen Rider, you might as well watch Venture Brothers.
Well and truly, yeah, if you can really enjoy the kind of goofiness that that shows like Ichigo and Black can offer you, but also find yourself pining for a little more of that Kuga-style plot like we do from time to time, please take the time to go watch Venture Brothers. It is worth your time.
Yeah, all the kitschy, over-the-top comic book fun with all of the clever and nuanced writing you could want from a show like that, truly.
And the reason why Batman is so much like a Venture Brothers character is because you see him once, and before you know what the show is about, you're like, okay, that's the one-off character. They're gonna go away in like an episode, maybe two, and they just keep coming back until they're an established character that's important to the plot.
God, I could talk about Venture Brothers forever. Sorry, I was just going to say real quick, there's so many characters who became so regular, despite the fact that they were, like, initially not even named. Like, Billy and Pete, for instance, were nobodies who made what was considered a cameo in the season 1 finale for the yard sale. It was supposed to be like, oh, look at all these characters, look at all the references from over the season. If you've watched the show, you know these guys are pretty relevant.
We love Pete and Billy Quizboy in this house.
We do. I don't care what the... it's funny, the general fan base seems to like them now, and I was shocked to see when I bought the art book. One of the show's episodes is basically chronicling their backstory together, and the art book had them, talking about how the episode was actually not initially well received by audiences, and that upset me.
That does not surprise me. I don't know if this is an accurate sentiment or not, but you said that the general audience seems to like them now, and the immediate thought in my head was, well, yeah, the general audience has finally transitioned, so that makes sense. There was just this immediate connection of like, well, yeah, they're all gay now. Of course they like Billy Quizboy and Pete.
It's true. It's so true.
Yeah, when they were a bunch of fucking angry straight teenagers watching Adult Swim. Doesn't surprise
they're all out of
me.
the closet now and they get it.
Yeah, now that they're all out of the closet, they get it.
Happy Pride.
Happy fucking Pride.
I used to be like you, Dean, and then now I'm more like...
Oh my god. We all had a Dean phase at some point, I imagine, huh?
True.
Which is kind of funny, given that, like, if there's one person in the Venture crew that probably is the straight white guy, it might be him.
Yeah, that's fair.
I suppose there was a time where I considered that to be me.
Well, that's fair. We don't know what the future holds. I guess that is so fair. Good luck, Teen Venture. I'm so sorry. I could talk about the show all day, but I need to talk about this other show now.
Yeah, we gotta talk about we'll start like 100 at least. I think at least $100 on the Patreon.
Yeah, $100 million on the Patreon.
Listen, that's never gonna happen.
If you want us to make a podcast about Venture Brothers for $100 million, I don't even know how I'm supposed to live up to that. I don't know how I'm supposed to live up to Venture Brothers, frankly.
Okay, but truly, what is more in the spirit of Venture Brothers than looking at something, saying, "Oh my god, this would be really cool," and trying to work at it for years and years and years, and getting a bit of it done, and then nothing else.
Mostly falling on your face
Yeah.
is truly in the spirit of Venture Brothers. Yeah. Or it's spectacularly failing.
Yeah, the only way it could be more in the spirit of the Venture Brothers is if we found a way to kill a person or a child in the process.
How many generations of people can we traumatize with this podcast? Let's make it as authentic as possible. We have to ruin ourselves. We have to ruin the next generation in a way that makes them ruin the next generation. Maybe slightly less, but the effects are going to be there.
Yeah, the point is there's got to be ripples to this shit. Hey, you know what else there were ripples to?
Not the cave anymore. That was last episode. I failed that segue. What's happening?
You tried so hard. It's fine. I don't remember, mostly because every time we start trying to talk about this episode, I look at my notes and I see one smack in the middle that says "blow a kiss to my shawty," like, because I will never get over the fucking weird noises Darum makes when he does magic.
Oh my god!
Why'd they make him start saying that shit?
From the heart, he really.
From the heart, yeah. My man put his whole chest in the. Yeah, I don't know.
Bilgenia's on his thing again. He sees them kidnap Kyoko, and they're like, "Okay, so we know this didn't work last time, but second time's the charm, right?" So they're getting ready to siphon her life juice into her brother, and Bilgenia's like, "But this guy sucks. I want to be the next Creation King. Why can't
do it?
Yeah, why can't I fight Black Sun? Why can't I be the next Creation King? I'm so much better than these losers." So he goes to commune with the Creation King. I don't know what to call it. The Creation King throws lightning around the room and Bilgenia deciphers it. He lures him deep into his chamber. This is literal. And
it's so literal that even Brigadia has a line about how deep the cave is.
Yeah, he's like, damn, this goes on forever.
Damn, I'm really in this shit.
Creation King's like, look at my cool sword, the Satan Saber. I know you want it, right? And then he sets the room on fire.
Look at my cool premium Bandai prop.
It's good, honestly. It's this red-bladed, gold-handled saber. Very, very RPG. I love it.
It is very cool. But also 100% of my recollection of that sword is tied to 2 or 3 years ago when they did a big premium Bandai drop of this exact sword, and it was a huge deal for the community, especially because it was a $300 toy.
Wow.
Because it was fucking premium Bandai. It was the same time that they dropped that $150 original Kamen Rider belt. You know the one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
it was
cool.
Yeah. Well, same time frame, same general idea, but it was a full size replica of this sword.
Ooh, I am looking it up. It is very pretty.
The Tamashi Lab, Satan Saber replica.
Yep.
It does not include your 2 AAA batteries, which you need them.
What a ripoff.
What the fuck? Yeah. How would you like to tell us the price tag on that one there, Nonagon?
$149.99.
Yeah, $150. You better include 2 fucking triple A's. How dare you?
That's so funny.
$150.
As this is gonna sound terrible, because really it is, but like, I have seen some of the other, like, I've been looking at, like, Godzilla merch recently. So the $150 price tag for a faithfully recreated replica doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah, comparatively to Godzilla shit, that's gotta be fucking nothing.
There's a 40-inch tall Shin Godzilla whose tail is not long enough, and it's like $2,000.
I mean, first of all, why the fuck do you need a 40-inch tall Godzilla? But second of all, $2,000?
Okay, sorry, 1,150.
Oh, that's so much better.
That's so much better.
I mean, it is better, but you know,
and it's only 20 inches. Excuse me. I got both numbers doubled.
Dang. Well.
The long and the skinny of it is, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is for people who earn so much money that they are capable of having a collector's room full of things that cost a lot of money. And they say, look at my nerd collector's room. And, like, is this room insured?
God, what if it's not?
Oof. I
don't know, I just find it extra funny because the tail is not accurately scaled.
Not at all, no. Now that you've sent the picture. It's... I imagine it's a balancing issue.
It probably is, but, and this is gonna sound harsh, maybe, for $1.2 thousand, please figure out how to fix your balancing issues.
I want to rub my hand down his chest.
You know?
Look how textured that is.
Yeah, I mean...
like, not remotely in a sensual way. Like, in a, like... I don't know, did you never not just, like, look at sandpaper and be like...
No, listen, I get you. I get it. I understand. It's also
like touching
just very hard to say the
at
sentence,
the
I want to
store.
rub my hand down his chest in a non-sensual way.
Look, I understand. It's...
Scientifically, I want to caress his body.
That's so fair, but also, it's you and Godzilla, so, like, also, I kind of don't believe you.
I just take a little bit of umbrage with the fact that those two things are mutually exclusive, I suppose.
No, not necessarily, but in this case,
fair,
I'm making a distinction. It's like saying, like, science versus crimes. A Venn diagram.
Since we've spoken of it, this is the Ashobi Shin Godzilla Omega Beast series, 4th form, solid red color version, limited edition statue. If you want to look it up for yourself and see that this man is just like what happens if we dry lava for millions of years, and that's his skin.
Basically.
Yeah. So textured.
Also, public service announcement. Wearing, like, latex gloves and then, like, rubbing concrete is a good sensation, and more people should do it.
It's a good sensation, you say.
Interesting.
I am intrigued.
I accidentally did it at work, and I'm like, that's a good experience. I will cherish this. Anyhow, you know what else will be cherished?
The Satan Saber, buy now, premium Bandai, $150?
Almost. The Satan Saber will be cherished by Bulgaria because he takes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this fire won't stop me.
Even though it really gets close. It really gets close.
I think it is very funny that, as far as I can tell, the Creation King might also be kind of a catty bitch.
It seems like it.
Like, the Creation King is like, yes, come, you want to be the next in line, come. I know your worth, I know your power. Claim my sword. If you can! Sets the room on fire? And also, as we learn later, this was all just a plot.
This is all an elaborate ruse. Yeah, hey, wait a minute.
To ruin him anyway. This was a plot against Bilgenia.
Literally just to get Bilgenia killed by giving him present that makes him think his dick's big.
Yeah, spoilers, Bilgenia dies.
Bergania, much like every good JRPG villain boss, obtains the sword that lets him turn into a boat and subsequently dies.
I can't help but feel like we've pushed and this is a bit of an unfair comparison because unfortunately, Shadow Moon has been built up more than these villains I'm about to talk about are. But like, you know, when the villain, the second villain, who's like, surprise, I'm the real big bad, shows up after the one that you actually cared about died.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help but feel like this is going to be that with Shadow Moon.
Which is a real shame, because it's not necessarily fair to say in the sense that we have had a firm establishment that the awakening of Shadow Moon was always the point. It's just a shame because we all like Bilginius so much, and he always made things more interesting anytime he was around.
There's something to be said about having a real catty bitch on your roster. Truly, if you just want things to be a little bit more fascinating.
Yeah. Enviable power. I wish I could be that.
I believe in your ability.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say you can. You can. It's a thing you can do. You have the ability in your heart. I know that you do. You simply have to.
There.
You must unleash the lock. You must let B-Drop Shin come out.
Ow.
Be true to the darkness in your heart, or whatever the fuck.
Or something like that.
Or something like that. Listen, I'm too tired to JRPG villain right now.
I guess should we go over real quick? Since we've already described that he dies, should we just go over real quick the context of his death?
Yeah, I mean it is pretty simple, but it is also decently plot integral. Basically, Brigania, like I said, thinks his schmeat is suddenly massive because he gets the creation.
That was a good one.
It was high quality. Yeah. Anyway, he thinks he's all that and a bag of fucking chips because he got the Creation King's sword, and so he starts rolling around like, "Yeah, what up? I'm the fucking Creation King." And he basically kidnaps Kyoko in order to use her to lure out Kotaro, and then yeah, Kotaro fucking kills him.
Or Nobuhiko.
I could have sworn it was actually Kotaro who killed him. Finally,
No, he retreats, and he kind of understands that this was all a plot when he gets back and he sees that Shadow Moon has awoken. And he's like, "God damn it! I've been done. I'm not going to lose to you." And he arms up and he squares up. He tries to fight Shadow Moon.
That fight was great. Actually, now that I'm remembering it, that fight fucking ruled. It was exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, Shadow Moon had reclaimed the Satan Saber just psychically. I don't know, by favor of the Creation King, maybe. I don't know. It just kind of flew to him, and Bilgenia had to use his original sword. They fought. Bilgenia just gets cleaved, and he dies. And it's a pretty fitting end for him, honestly, though I'm sad to see it at all.
Yeah, we are sad to see you pass Brigania, but also we kind of always knew this was happening, so at least you got it done in by the big bad.
Yeah, and unfortunately, what we have now is Shadow Moon, who, despite being built up for nearly 40 episodes, kind of just, so far, is just kind of around.
Okay. Yeah, no, I literally have to give you that. He hasn't really done too much yet besides, like, be menacing.
Shall we talk about what he looks like?
We absolutely should talk about how he at least looks.
I have a brief comment that basically summarizes my feelings, which is RoboCop Rider Nobuhiko.
True. He does look exactly like RoboCop. Fuck.
I have a dissertation about specifically the masks. It is a very quick dissertation. And that is Nobuhiko Catboy.
You know...
Oh, man.
Yeah, now that you say it, I can really see it.
Yeah.
Like, his eyes has, like, it's almost like war paint or, like, just extra design or vents around the eyes, but they're very close to being whiskers. And then there's, like, some horns around at the top of the eyes as well, with a almost sort of feline nose piece.
It's supposed to be like a bug mouth again, similar to Kotaro's, but they had to distinguish it, and I can see the nose in there for sure. He's very chrome.
He's incredibly chrome.
He is chrome. His accent color is green, as Kamen Rider Black is red. He is mostly chrome, secondary black, and the green accents. He's got contraptions on his legs.
He's got boots that jingle, jingle, jangle.
They do have a literal sound effect every time he takes a step.
I kind of love it.
I enjoyed it until I realized it was just like a robotic version of the squeaky boots from SpongeBob.
That's so funny. I don't hate the sound effect, but the thing I really don't know how to feel about is that they are articulated pieces on his legs. They literally do just they're like crops taped to his ankles that slap him in the calves every time he takes a step, and it's really strange. I don't know how I feel about it. They're not small or subtle either. They are the like exact length of his leg from ankle to shin, or ankle to knee, like the entire length of his shin. Those things are huge, and I don't hate that, but it makes them really obvious when they articulate when he takes those steps.
I understand that they're supposed to be grasshopper legs, but I'm not entirely sure if it works in the way that they might have been intending. That being said, I'm absolutely here for it because, it's easy to joke about this suit being so incredibly like, this is what everything will look like in the year 2000.
God, yeah.
He's so extremely sci-fi, but it's a very quality suit. And for a lot of the criticisms we've had of the suits thus far, has just kind of been, yeah, that's exactly what I'd expect. It does its job almost too well, and it's just kind of too predictable because of it. And I think these, like, weird spur elements of it remove that sort of complaint for me, because it's just, I wouldn't expect that to be part of the suit, and I'm glad that they added it because it makes it look a bit more alien and a bit weirder. Whether or not it's actually good, I don't know.
I like it. I personally am a huge fan of the Shadow Moon suit. I think it looks great. I like that they made a point to make, like, they could have gone a lot more monstery and Golgami with the suit, and the fact that they make it so, like, very RoboCop-y helps tie that connection to Kotaro. Like, you can tell these are truly supposed to be companion suits because they kind of look like each other.
And also that Shadow Moon looks more mechanical because his process has been finalized, I think is neat additionally.
Yeah, that is definitely a good touch. I love the green accents. I think the eyes and the belt being these big bright green spots on what is a mostly silver and black body look really good. I do sort of enjoy the visual element of the spurs, but I also specifically I really enjoy the audio element because he makes a very distinct noise now every time that he takes a step. And I think there are a lot of like really good possibilities for what they can do with a villain that makes a very distinct noise when they take a step. Especially because like already with what little we've seen of him so far has been a lot of like mostly him walking very slowly and menacingly at people, usually to no music but just the sound of those the spurs going off, and it's been a neat little effect that I suppose I shouldn't say I have high hopes for, just because I know this show too well to know they're going to do anything truly like excellent with it, but they'll probably have some fun with it and I'll enjoy it.
I have hopes because of the first thing he did when he woke up. maybe he's not going to do anything like that again, but just to describe it to you all, when he first wakes up, Kotaro and Bilgeni are still fighting over Kyoko. Bilgeni had taken her, and he was using her to lure him out so that they could fight, and he could then take the King Stone and challenge Shadow Moon for position of Creation King, as is his plan. While they're out there, amidst their fight, Shadow Moon emerges, and he blots out the sun?
Yeah.
Somehow, he just eclipses the earth somehow. Like, not with his body, he like, uses some power. I don't know what he did, but it was crazy. The show's not going to tell us either, but...
Honestly, I hope it doesn't.
Listen, any good JRPG villain should be able to just blot out the sun for no apparent reason.
I just think it was one of the coolest ways you can immediately introduce your big bad that you didn't want to awaken in the first place, is to have him immediately announce his presence to the earth in such a, like, I feel like that's a really intimidating way. He doesn't just walk out, and he's not just like, hey everybody, I'm here. He makes a real show of force.
Yeah. It's too bright out for me to make my entrance. Oh, the sun? Yeah, I don't care. Turn it off. There, now that the atmosphere is right, let me introduce myself. My name is Shadowman, you get it? This is because it's I blotted out the sun. This is Shadow. This is Shadow.
I think that's charming.
Listen, it's good. It's dope as fuck.
I like it. This is also when the Satan Saber just gets, like, willed away from Bilgenia, whether by the Creation King or by Shadow Moon. I feel it's implied Shadow Moon did it somehow. I don't know how.
Well, because I think
really
Shadow
cool.
Moon, kind of going forward here, they kind of treat Shadow Moon being the Creation King as like a foregone conclusion. It's like the tone of the show from this point onward is very, alright, and now we need to kill Kotaro just because we kinda gotta get that one off the checklist, but...
Yeah, I don't dislike that. I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That, they're so... It's almost like their inherent flaw. They're so rigid in their adherence to their tradition. But, I mean, also, they want the other King's Stone. They need the other King's Stone.
Right, yeah, they need the other King's Stone. But also, like, there's no question in their mind about, like, oh, well, what if Kotaro wins and he declares himself the Creation King? They're like, listen,
that
that's
half-baked loser?
Yeah. Listen, Shadow Moon is our Creation King, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, Kotaro is literally half-baked in this case.
This is true.
The poor thing. It's interesting, especially looking at them side by side. I mean, I imagine if they truly finished the Golgumification process.
Yeah, man, I love One Piece.
I imagine if they finished it, he would look a lot more similar to Shadow Moon. But he's still so organic.
There's an interesting little design challenge I'd like to see. Yeah, I would love to see some people's interpretations of what they think the black suit would look like if it finished Golgumfying, as it were.
If you draw it, show it to us, please.
Show it to us, yeah.
Where was I going? I was thinking of the plot to come, because we've jumped around a tiny, tiny bit.
We should talk about how Shadow Moon actually did get resurrected. Because one of the important things is, like we mentioned, Brigenia steals Kyoko, so we can't do the life force plan anymore. So the Golgum priests are trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do. And they get another lightning-based command from the Creation King, because I guess that's how he does his shit, who tells them to use the land, sea, and sky stones, which it turns out those are the stones that are, like, in the center of the cloaks of the Golgum priests, and it's, like, where they get their powers from. Surprise, those have been relevant, apparently. Supremely so, in that they are now being commanded to make use of those stones in order to resurrect Shadow Moon, which they are hesitant about because, surprise, surprise, if they do that, it'll kill them. Who would have ever guessed? Who could have seen this coming?
They did. They're so worried about it.
Yeah, they're very. Although I do like they have the briefest conversation about it that amounts to Darum, the head priest guy, being like, "Listen, if fuck ass Bulgaria becomes the creation king, we're dead either way. We might as well go for it."
Hedge your bets. Let's go.
So true, bestie.
I think it's actually pretty interesting because I know that this is kind of just basic writing stuff, but I'd like to draw a connection regardless of having the hero and the villains be powered by this same force is, I feel like that, or specifically their usage of it within Kamen Rider Black, is probably what led to them kind of deciding how to handle the Gorongi stuff in Kuga. Upon that reveal of like, oh, these things are plot important, it took me for a loop until I realized, why wouldn't they be? That would track logically that the thing that they used to make Kamen Rider also gives them powers, or at least adjacent things.
It's that, admittedly, that exact plot thing of like, oh, the same thing that powers the villain also powers our heroes, is something that tends to come up in Kamen Rider a lot. But it is something that I like it every time they use it. I think Kamen Rider always uses that particular plot point well.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's also just a general writing trope, but I would be interested to see, is this the first usage of it?
I suppose in a way, depending on how you want to think about it, ostensibly not, because one could argue the first usage was Ichigo.
Fair. It is like Shocker powers both the cyborgs and the kaijin, so it does kind of track in that, but specifically with the reveal of, hey, this magic adjacent sort of energy that we've used and harnessed, having that be the power, and then having that reveal of it also powering everyone else.
The priests, yeah.
I'm curious if
having the priests have their own kind of mini king stones.
Yeah. And I'm curious if that specific structure of how that plot point is focused was first derived with Kamen Rider Black or not.
That's
May
a good
very well
question.
be.
Yeah.
We'll have to check out other Showa era Kamen Riders to find out, I think. But yeah, it's interesting getting this far and really seeing the sort of, I don't know, the inherited DNA, or like the connective tissue between this and the following series, Kuga.
I mean, given the production timeline and some of the bonus content, it's definitely Kamen Rider Shin and Kamen Rider Kuga are very much what I am more naturally inclined to compare it to.
Yeah, the babies.
Yeah.
The two branching paths.
This is it. This is where so many of these ideas formed. And, I think we got a really nice rework of some of them with Kamen Rider Kuga, but I think we need, like, a rework of Shin Kamen Rider and call it, like, Shin Kamen Rider or something.
We can't call everything Shin. There's too many.
No, we just call it True Shin Kamen Rider.
Yeah.
We cannot.
And then,
oh my god,
in another
no.
50 years, we'll call it True God Shin Kamen Rider.
No, the one that comes out in another 50 years will be True Shin Kamen Rider Final.
Oh,
we already shouldn't have two Shin Kamen Riders.
So funny.
Granted, to be fair, I don't blame Hideaki Anno. He already kind of had a series name. He gets a pass. It's not his fault that a Shin Kamen Rider already existed when he got to make a Kamen Rider entry for his Shin series, but whatever. I think at this point we can say no more Shin Kamen Rider. We're not calling it that anymore, unless it's a direct sequel.
I almost want Shin Kamen Rider 2. I don't think we're gonna get it, but I almost want it to be a remake of Kamen Rider Black, despite the fact that we already have Black Sun. Just because, like, it has the same pitfalls that Ichigo does, despite the fact that they were aware of these pitfalls and were like, we're gonna try to avoid them and we're gonna do this. this is going to be what we really wanted to do, and they still didn't hit the landing. And so I'd just be curious to see where that thought process goes, and, you know, maybe that is Black Sun. I'm curious if there'd be any other form of a more true to the spirit of the original Kamen Rider Black. If not.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, you mentioned Black Sun, but I also almost wonder even too if like how much of that they did with Black RX. You know, knowing that there's a series that immediately follows this one that is kind of a sequel continuation, I do wonder what they did with it as far as like kind of the initial goals of Black that maybe were not as fulfilled as they may have wanted on the initial run.
I have a nagging suspicion, and please forgive me, but I have a truly nagging suspicion that it is probably even more Monster of the Weeky than this series is. It's possible that it's not.
I am sure you're right,
I don't truly know.
honestly.
I would love if it was not, and this isn't necessarily like a dig on the Monster of the Week format, necessarily. It's not a bad show format, it's just, unfortunately, Kuga has changed my expectations, in which you can have a Monster of the Week format that still flows cohesively into the running storyline that you established at the beginning of your show, which every Kamen Rider we watched has done. It's just these Showa era Kamen Riders don't carry their plots throughout, but rather establish them, drop them, and pick them up occasionally, sometimes.
The Showa era Kamen Riders dribble their plot points, essentially.
Yeah.
It's like one of
Trickle
those
down plot points.
rotating fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kuga is just too good. Kuga is damaged by expectations for this franchise.
Listen, I'm glad y'all enjoyed Kuga. I am. That's if at the end of the day, if I get nothing else out of this podcast, I will at least get the joy of knowing that I showed y'all Kuga and you all thought it was amazing.
I think we all love Kamen Rider in general, but
Yeah.
Kuga is like the no-brainer favorite choice for all of us, I imagine, as far as the series go thus far that we've seen.
This is why I'm so desperate to get y'all watching more of the modern stuff, because it's a lot of it is like, not all of it is Kuga per se, but it's, you know, a lot of it is more Kuga adjacent. And while, you know, the Blacks and the Ichigos of the world are fun, I wanna get those Kuga type reactions, dog. I wanna watch y'all motherfuckers go through it.
Yeah, it is fun. I have at least watched 01, and that was quite a time.
I think Kuga is the most genuine I can recommend one of these Kamen Riders that we've watched thus far. You know, I always talk about Godzilla, but in the same way that I'm like, some of the Godzilla films are just like actually good films, even if they didn't have the Godzilla name on them, I think Kuga, if it wasn't Kamen Rider, would still be really good. And I think that if Kamen Rider Black wasn't Kamen Rider, it'd be fun, but it would lose something.
I think just in your immediate judging of Black not having the Kamen Rider name being "it'd be fun," I think that says everything that you need to know right there. You will have a good time watching Black. I don't know if you're gonna get anything from it, but you'll have a good time.
And that's not even like a big complaint, because it'll be fun.
Yeah, truly, there's certainly nothing wrong with a show just being fun, but there's definitely a very distinct difference between when a show is fun and when a show is good.
It's elevated by the Kamen Rider name, but that's okay.
I feel like my life has become a wash in this kind of media because I enjoy that sort of popcorny kind of, you know, the way that some tokusatsu fills in, like the Showa era, Kamen Riders and, like Nonagon said, Godzilla films. I love slasher films. None of these are necessarily good, but they're fun, and that's worthwhile.
Like,
you might not have necessarily, you might not have any revelations. This might not be a particularly deep artistic experience for you, and that's okay.
I think that's maybe the difficult thing, is just to kind of reconcile that notion of like, yeah, that is okay. Not every, show you watch or book you read or game you play or whatever has to be high art. Some shit can just be enjoyable.
If we only had deep emotional music, we would have nothing to play at the club.
So fucking true.
That's such incredibly wise words.
And I think that's how I view this show. This is the club.
Yeah.
We're at the club now. We're having a great time. Like, this is not a transformative experience, as contradictory as that sounds, but, having a good time. I think media analysis might be at its most fun and unhinged when working with such meatless material.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, what are our themes here? Well, we do have some, but it's mostly about exploding bad guys. And that's okay.
I fucking love exploding bad guys, dude.
This is none pizza, none meat.
Yeah, this is true.
It's non.
Yeah, this is a big ass fucking pita.
Tortilla, even.
And all these things are good, and so is Kamen Rider.
Especially when executed well, which I think the show is for what it tries to do. I think it executes it well, especially in terms of production. We've ranted over the moon about our appreciation for the practical effects in this series specifically.
A lot of them are really good, but then there's some of them, like with the suits, that kind of, they don't hit the mark, because after Shadow Moon gets all of his power and kind of becomes the new big bad after Bulginia died, the high priests are not actually gone. They get transmogrified into their own beasts.
Or right before they transmogrify, though, Shadow Moon does look down at them, and he's like, "You guys look awful, Cope."
And they really do. My favorite one is fucking Darum with his fucking chalky ass. Bro, looks like he
literally
grew a fucking
spits out
tumor.
sand. Curse of the Mummy upon you.
Yeah!
It's so funny. I had one random thing, because we're going to be talking about these guys for a while, I imagine, because they're quite important, and I do want to talk about them. There's one other thing I wanted to mention before we got to that point, though, and it was when Bilgenia initially lured Kotaro out, like, or not when he initially, later, after Kotaro had rescued Kyoko, he's trying to lure him out, like, again, and he uses the power of the Satan Saber to mind control just this group of young men into making them ruffians and hoodlums and rapscallions, which is something Golgum is very fond of. But I couldn't help but think, like, at the end of the episode, after Shadow Moon reclaims the sword and Bilgenia is dead, their mind control is broken. And they snap out of it, and we get a brief glimpse of them just being confused and dropping their weapons. And they have wreaked havoc on, like, a downtown area. They've assaulted dozens of people. They've broken multiple shops. And I just couldn't help but think, these men have had their lives completely ruined. And we're never going to think or look at that ever again.
Nope.
The court of law is not going to take mind control from an unknown source as a viable defense, and these men are going to rot in prison for things they don't remember doing.
God, you're so right about that.
Your Honor.
And I just had to, like...
It was the wannabe Nazis that mind controlled me.
The what?
The wannabe
A
Nazis.
likely story, motherfucker.
No, I swear, one of them is a cricket.
Yeah, you listen, if I had a nickel for every time someone got brainwashed by wannabe Nazi crickets, I could be a wannabe Nazi cricket.
I mean, you could, that's the scary part. We almost were, that's why you should let us go, because we're not.
Amazing.
God, I did have to pause at that moment when they were snapped out of it, and they allowed, they allowed us, the viewer, to perceive them coming to their senses. I don't know, I had to pause to, like, mourn for them for a moment,
Yeah.
to think the trajectory of their lives was just completely ruined. And this feels like such a weird, like, I'm so used to shows of this era, like, sorry, of this kind of Kamen Rider, I should say, Showa era Kamen Rider. When they ruin someone's life, it's very, I don't know, child-friendly, mundane, sort of, like, they either kill you, or they turn you into a monster, and you get murdered for it, because you lose your control of yourself.
Or they turn you to a monster and you get purified because Hongo can do that at whim.
Yeah, but at least in those cases, you almost always get some sort of tiny little epilogue scene where you see they're living happily and they aren't, being charged for the crimes they committed while they were a wolf beast or whatever. But these men just attacked people. Nobody could tell they were mind controlled. They were just people who went around and attacked everybody and destroyed a bunch of stuff. And this is like this is the kind of evil they could be wreaking to ruin people's lives. It was shockingly effective, given how many plots they've had to turn people into rapscallions, or to just mind control people. They mind control people all the time. They've had multiple, like, Golgum and Shocker schools to raise evil little gangsters or whatever, and usually they don't end up doing much, but in this one scene, it was so shockingly effective that I just couldn't help but think, like, what does the future hold for these men? I know, by our American standards, and to be fair, it's going to be very skewed because we're Americans. The Japanese legal system, in a number of instances, is a lot more, I guess, lenient than ours when it comes to things like violent crime. But not weed.
It's really not weed.
Yeah, but yeah, like, I don't know. They did so much. I just can't help but think. Even if it's a shorter sentence, by all accounts, maybe they got 10 to 15 years. That's not
a lot
nothing.
of time.
That's not nothing.
Yeah, like,
Not nothing.
They're not going to be the same when they get out of prison. What's going to be waiting for them on the other side? Society is not going to treat them the same.
God, holy shit, wait, I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, this episode came out in 1988. If they get sentenced to 10 years in prison, they will come out just as we are hitting the turn of the millennia. It'll be 1998. They'll have missed so much.
what do you mean, Seinfeld started and then ended, and I missed all of it? What do you mean,
What do you
the
mean
computer?
the fucking bubble burst?
Yeah, what do you mean
The oh god, yeah.
Everything
I'm
was supposed to be perfect forever. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, I guess your lives got ruined in a brief afternoon you don't even remember. So,
email? Excuse me.
Yeah, what is the internet?
but yeah, I'm sorry for such a long tangent about such a small thing, but
No, you make an excellent point.
I thought about them so much.
They keep doing that, though. Like, this is a weird consistency with Kamen Rider Black.
Kamen Rider Black loves to put people in situations and then not consider the consequences of those situations.
You might not remember, because it's been a little bit since we spoke about it, but there was a whole, like, reverse river that destroyed an ecosystem and also, like, was polluting the water of the local, like, water supply. And that just never gets fixed. It's just gone.
I would like to think that because the water returned to its normal flow after the salmon beast, we at least know that Toru's father does work in maintaining the river. So because he's alive, it's we can at least presume. And technically, we are making assumptions, but we can assume that he is at least going to make efforts to restore what he can of the ecosystem, which is at least nice. The best hope we have for this group of men is that despite how many people saw them and could easily identify them, hopefully they just left and weren't caught.
We can only pray that they were smart enough to, like, lay low for a little bit until the heat dies down.
Like, I still think about those that parents' kids with the golden bug
from
episode.
the Scarab episode? Yeah.
Oh, the freaking life savings and quit their jobs. Oh my god.
A lot
Mister,
of
I
people
spent
did.
my 5 million yen severance on a fucking girl bug. Yeah, how's that going for you, dog? Pretty
Like,
homeless, I bet.
Are they okay? Like,
You
No.
know they're not.
because
You know damn well they're not.
I sure do. But like, there's this weird disconnect of like, Kotaro's supposed to be the hero, but he just doesn't really think about this stuff. It's so weird.
To be fair, I mean, you guys do make excellent points, and it is certainly a fair, like, criticism to call against Kotaro in his attempts to be the hero of the people. But also, Kotaro is a man of a very singular focus with, I think, good reason.
Yeah, I don't think it's Kotaro's fault or responsibility to take care of the people after, he stops the Golgum plot or whatever. But the show definitely doesn't, in general, take into account the ramifications of Golgum's activity in a way where, we say this a lot, but, like Kuga does. Kuga takes into account pretty severely what all these mass murders have done to life in Tokyo.
I think the big difference with blacking Kuga in that specific instance is that, like, with Kuga that was kind of the point, right? Like, very much so with Kuga, the kind of the point of looking even into what the Grongi was doing was talking about, like, the after effects of such a tragedy. And with Black, kind of the tragedy is not real. The tragedy is a vehicle through which we deliver a monster of the week to be exploded.
You're so right.
It's
the thing.
very like Captain Planet, kind of. Like, we have stakes, but we're kind of only pretending to have stakes because we have other shit that we need to do, and having stakes is a good way to get it done.
The frustrating thing is that I don't think you need to have a lot of that stuff. You could just, like, it could be a single throwaway line of like, oh, this stuff was put in place to get things settled, or something like that. If you do that a couple times, your brain kind of fills in the gaps, but because it does so little, and because that tragedy isn't real, it, at least to me, it feels like it is somehow Kotaro's fault because there's no one else who actually knows what's happening. So it's just like, with Kuga, it was definitely more of the story, but you also had a lot of people who were actually working on it, so Godai could just be like, okay, I'm gonna go try and help this not happen again. I'm gonna leave it to the rest of the people. And that's fine, but there's no one to leave it to, and there's no one to take responsibility, and there's no one to understand that there was something that happened other than these weird outlandish stories that affected people. And it's just peculiar.
It's an interesting choice, and I do wonder what is what is the cause of said choice. If it's one of those things where if it comes from just a lack of forethought, or if it's maybe even intentional to a point of like, oh, this is a show for kids, maybe we don't want it to get too heavy sort of thing. I would very much so be interested in seeing like how and why are these particular choices made.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see if any of that had influenced why Akuga was the way it was. Because I'm thinking like there's the real world changes. People are being a lot more cynical. There's a lot more like outward danger being expressed. And I feel like that's almost a reflection of like looking at Kamen Rider Black and the world and being like, hey, we were both naive in how we told the story and how we perceived this world and our own, and we're going to perceive it differently in this new one. And I don't know, maybe it doesn't go that deep, but I'd be interested to think regardless.
I think it might. I don't know. Like, I've also questioned the time period and how that affects that. Like our obvious one as Americans is all media pre and post 9/11 are drastically different. And we had speculated, obviously because we are not like native Japanese people who grew up there and can also talk to people over there, we can't necessarily say for certain, but we already sort of speculated that all of the horrible things that happened in the 90s probably had something to do with the major tonal shift in their media as well.
Yeah, it does seem like a pretty safe assumption to make. Because if you think about, it's something that came up in our minds, and we're just kind of, I mean, aside from talking about it every now and again, we're just kind of pretty casually watching the show just like anyone else would. So you would imagine anyone who is like just writing for shows in those eras, but especially maybe even anyone who might have watched Black and then grown up and gotten to a point where they could also write for a show like Akuga, that sort of thing probably would have been on their mind. So it's entirely possible that it was a very intentional choice made by people who, maybe had very similar conversations like the one we're having now, if not maybe in a different medium. Maybe instead of being, in a Discord group call, they were all sitting around at a bar or on like some forum in the early 90s or something. But I imagine there were probably people out there who thought about this sort of stuff the same way we are, and so it in my mind it stands to reason then that the very noticeable change in Kuga probably would have been because of that.
This is all just a tangent, but still,
The one episode with plot, and we decide not to talk about it,
right? Because we were gonna talk about how these suits are sure one hell of a design.
Okay, time to get into these freaks. Which freak do we want to start with?
You know what? I think we start with the freak that is arguably the least offensive. Let's do Bisham. What could you say about... Holy shit!
Least offensive?
Did you not notice?
Holy shit!
Least offensive?
Oh, you didn't notice,
see those
did you?
first. No!
I was going to say she's the least offensive, you say.
Listen, I think comparatively she is still the least offensive. Mostly because she's got the least going on. Except for her two glaring...
I would say they're looking right at you, but they don't have eyes, do they?
Holy shit. In the infamous words of the fucking greatest spy of all time, Machine Gun Jubilees, how did I miss those, baby?
So you might have taken the hint that Bisham's got some weird titties. Let us describe them. Have you ever seen a fish with teeth?
No.
Have you ever seen a parrot and imagined it with rows of teeth?
It's worse than that. She doesn't have boobs. She has Audrey tits. She got them motherfucking Feed Me Seymour.
Except that it's two, so they speak in harmony. It's horrible.
I screamed, and immediately, and this is probably really not a good sign when your design calls this to image, even though they'd have no way of knowing, but I couldn't stop thinking about Cleopatra from Dante's Inferno from...
Oh my god.
Shit! I forgot Cleopatra has mouth titties too!
Oh my god.
And I hate
When's Kamen Rider Black for the Xbox 360?
Christ, I would play that.
I'd play the fuck out of that shit, are you kidding me?
I had the same reaction as King Fats while I was watching.
Yeah.
She has this thing she does that the rest of them don't do when they first transform. Because she gets wings, so she flies around the room. So she's kind of silhouetted until she's fully revealed. And I was like, oh, they kind of like made her like... They gave her like bat wings and claws and crazy like storm hair. This is kind of... milquetoast sexy. What are those?
What are those? What are those?
To
To
quote...
Yeah, I guess I was too focused on the hair and the wings. I did not see these shits.
To quote Fiona, the costume designer must have been maddeningly horny.
The costume designer probably awoke some things in the audience with this one.
Probably.
Either that, or knew that he'd be safe because the TVs would not display an high enough resolution. And didn't consider the impact.
He knew his sins would never be known. Little did he know about high definition photography.
Little did he know that a Blu-ray DVD set would be released like 50 years later.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So least offensive.
Again, still stand by least offensive by narrative. Aside from the mouth tits, there is truly nothing going on here.
It's just...
Do you know Morrigan from Darkstalkers?
Yeah.
She does.
I was gonna say, what if her tights went all the way up, and then you gave her storm hair? That's Bisham. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Bisham.
And then you gave her some Party City bat wings. Which...
Well, to be fair, some people might argue that Morrigan already has Party City bat wings, but I digress.
Well, okay, that's fair. But I think these bat wings particularly are all the more distracting because they are just kind of fabric, which is not consistent with this show's quality. And, like, the fabric doesn't look integrated into the rest of the suit, and neither do the beaked mouth breasts, by the way. But what does are the claws. And so when you have all of these elements right next to, like, two very distinct details that don't blend in with the rest of the suit, it makes it look even more uncanny than I think it should.
These are definitely some suits to look at for everyone involved. I had a note about them. Hold on, and I think the note that I had about them. Yeah, I think this really kind of sums up the at least my feelings for sure about these suits. Because my notes about them were just simply, these suits, I can't tell if they rule or suck. I want to see the concept art for these forms.
I do too.
Yeah.
I am so curious to see the concept art for these forms, because something tells me that the concept art of these three forms is fucking inspired, and I
Probably.
think there was a little bit of falling directly on the face when it came time for practical execution.
I genuinely wonder if they just ran out of time. Because
Possible.
Yeah.
They're not bad, but
They're not up to this show's quality.
yeah, it's
Like, not even remotely.
And these and you could argue, oh well, they're just going to get killed off in an episode, so let's, it's fine. But they don't.
spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is they
They're
don't
the
just
ones
disappear
that stay.
immediately.
So who is the second least offensive, in your opinion, then, King Fats, if Bisham is the least?
Oh, listen, I'm about to say some shit, and y'all are
I'm
gonna be
eager
like,
to hear it.
huh? And you have to hear me out and understand what I am meaning when I say offensive.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the second least offensive of these three, after Bisham, right? Bisham gets least offensive because it is a nothing suit. Like, nothing is going on there, minus the fucking mouth tits.
Yeah, Lady Villain.
Yeah, this is this is well and truly not, she's in the goddamn jumpsuit. That's it. So I think the second least offensive by that kind of a grading system. God, I'm fucking looking at him. Jesus Christ.
Are you
is
sure?
Darum.
Darum? Okay, so they made him kind of like a trilobite to
Yeah,
describe him.
the ambassador held him.
Okay.
He does have that silhouette.
Yes. I was gonna say. I'm glad you didn't
You
say
know,
the other
all
one.
right. I didn't just. I didn't. You know, I was too busy looking at you know what I was too busy looking at is his fucking face.
He has tubes. He has tube worms. I personally think it's fun to interpret them. Yeah, they're worms or they're tubes or they're both.
Mhm.
That would be fun. They run along every opening in his exoskeleton. You can see them all along, like under his arms, and they like connect the trilobite head onto his face. I think it's interesting to look at. He is a freak.
He's a freak. He's a freak, and I feel like he is a freak in a bad way, in that I look at him and he looks wrong, because I feel like maybe they wanted to be inventive and try to make a change, and so they changed the Darum face paint, not realizing that it would be massively distracting. I think this suit would get a lot of points back if they just brought back the old High Priest Darum face paint.
I have one question. I was thinking about this before, and I can't deny I didn't put much effort into it at all. What animal resemblance do you think Bisham has?
Bisham?
Yeah, because there's a clear choice and theme. I don't know what she is. Is she like a pterodactyl? I have no idea.
Listen,
I'm grasping at straws.
Once upon a time, I would have told you that she was just a bat and left it at that. But now that I know that she's got mouths on her titties and also that she has scales, I could not possibly. Maybe she's a dragon. Maybe she's Queen Ghidorah from that that Godzilla fan film we watched.
God. That would put her a little out of theme. But maybe. I don't really have a better guess.
You were giving them too much credit. That would put her entirely out of theme. She would be nowhere near the fucking theme if she was Queen Ghidorah. She wouldn't be in the same fucking zip code as the theme.
God, yeah. So you might be latching on to an idea of what the theme might be. We just said that Darum is like a trilobite, and that she might be like a pterodactyl. I don't know. I don't have a much better guess. Some sort
kind
of
of
thing.
hyperbat evil. You know what? She's supposed to be a hot 80s woman villain.
You're right. I'm sorry.
This is such a fucking nothing suit. And then my fucking boy.
I have something to say about Darum. I think he is the least offensive because I think he is easily the best suit.
You think this is the best suit?
Easily. Or not.
I think I might be inclined to agree amongst the three of them.
Amongst these three. And
I don't know.
Hear me out here.
Here, I'm hearing you out.
It has a lot of very well-defined texture to make up its carapace. It's got a nice silhouette that's distinctive from, say, just a normal person with, like, some fabric on them. And all of these tubes and worms, not only does it give kind of a unfinished energy to it, like how we kind of perceive a lot of prehistoric era creatures of like, oh, this is the thing that it's still evolving because, or whatever. But also there's so many tubes already that Gorgum uses. And so to have that powering one of the priests in this sort of form and using it from outside of the base, and also considering that, like, you could even consider that the Creation King has a bunch of, like, tubes or membrane kind of, like, extensions from it, and I think that kind of mirrors that. We also get there's like the gemstone there for the mimicking the belt. I think there's just a lot good going for it. It could be better, and I think the easiest part with that would be emphasize some of that coloring a bit. It looks a little...
The coloring's bad.
It's a little unfinished.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have lots of mixed opinions. I kind of like it. I like how unsettlingly dry and crusty he looks. It fits with how he's always looked. I think it's intentional that he's supposed to look like he'll crumble into chalk dust at any moment.
Admittedly, I do think that some of my criticisms could be perceived down to lighting because other pictures are slightly different. But I think they could have emphasized that dry, crumbling texture a bit more.
I like I said, I think they should have stuck to the original Darum face paint. I think the original Darum face paint did it a lot better. And I think his face was better defined with the old face paint as well. Like, you could tell you were supposed to be looking at a person, which I guess maybe you aren't supposed to be looking at a person at this point, shrug, but I don't know. It's just like, especially when I could, comparatively looking at this screenshot that Nonagon posted, it's so, like, muddy and messy trying to look at his face, which there's, like, a big kind of a visual, I mean, for fuck's sake, the arrow is around his face. There's so much that draws your eye to that part of his body, which makes sense. He's, like, supposed to be the leader and their mouthpiece. But having a face that, like... Because it'd be one thing, too, if this was, like, Barum, right? Where his face had always been entirely covered by a mask, which, yeah, Barum we're gonna fucking talk about. But, like, it'd be one thing if this was Barum, where his face had always been covered, and then, like, I don't know, maybe they did, like, a big kind of, Phantom of the Opera style, oh, he's hideous reveal. But, like, this is the dude whose face we have had the most clear view of the entire time, minus, I guess, arguably Bisham, just because she had the weird clear face mask thing going on, and even she still had, like, a bunch of stuff painted on. Like, Darum was the only one who, like, visually, he was very what you see is what you get vis-a-vis his face, and what you saw and what you got was it just kind of a dude with like a white dry crumbly face for whatever reason, and like it feels like they're trying to do that while still incorporating the new design elements and just not like sticking the landing on it, like we said.
I can see that. It depends on how you want to perceive it, or what you want to interpret from this new outfit. Because if you're looking at it from that perspective, definitely a downgrade. But I can't help but see that like all the worms in tubes that create that face are mostly just like an external mask that's just put over this like wretched creature that hides underneath. So it's mostly just supposed to be a facsimile of what he used to be.
Yeah, maybe. That's probably a better way to think about it.
Well, I think there's definitely a lot of valid criticism to be had in the fact that you're not entirely sure what direction they're going with. Because I think one way is pretty good, or one way succeeds a lot more than the other, but it's unclear if they're succeeding at the thing they want. That being said, those, at least in my opinion, are still nitpicks for the overall suit. And I think that'll bring us to Borum, right?
Jesus fucking Christ, yeah. I think unless
Poor
you
Borum is about to die.
If you have anything that you want to say about Darum now, go for it. Otherwise, let's fucking go to our funeral for a friend. Jesus fucking Christ, Darum, what did they do to you, dog?
They massacred my boy.
They massacred my boy.
So let's get the objective description out of the way before we really get into it. Okay, objectively, he is some sort of... I think he's like a saber-toothed cat, but his saber teeth are tusks.
And they're coming out of his neck!
So if that sounds confusing already, yeah, it is. He is wearing, like, the portion of his mask that, like, the brow and forehead, everything below that is gone. He's wearing that, though, so there's, like, a little plastic helmet, little forehead guard on there. It's, he's got some mechanical bits, including pectoral plating, like the Saiyan armor things on the side of his waist,
yeah,
and a codpiece. And I do say that very intentionally with the Saiyan armor, like it has the same like patterned ribbing on it.
Probably a direct reference, one of these.
Is there anything else objective to say about this guy?
Fucking
his tail
sucks.
Is really sad. His tail is thin and short and
suit objectively sucks.
Okay, yeah.
I believe...
Time to kill him.
Well, no, I believe Borum was the shortest of the crew, or was that Dorum?
That was Dorum.
Okay. We forgot to mention, Dorum is taller in his monster form now.
Yeah, they're all the same height now.
Yeah, so...
Which means Darum's actor gets to stop walking on his knees.
Or they've replaced suit actors, but...
Happy Pride.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Happy Pride, rise up, King.
I'm sure... I'm sure at least something is rising with Darum on his...
True! True! Ladies! I hear you like Shigaraki Togura or whatever the fuck his name is.
Crust ass!
Yeah, old crust ass flake ass bitch. Let me introduce you to the old G. Let him come up in your crib and go.
People like My Hero Krusty because he is a sad, edgy anime boy.
Yeah.
But in their defense, he also says trans rights.
That's valid. I don't think Darum wants anyone to have rights, especially trans people. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Darum did fund Dr. What's-His-Face, who did have that hormone.
And to be fair, he's trying to turn the whole world into monsters.
This is
Transform
so true.
the whole world into monsters.
So true. Happy fucking
Maybe.
Monster Pride.
Happy Pride.
He may hate-
All the Krusties have one thing in common. They all say trans rights.
You love to see it.
They all need CeraVe desperately.
Desperately.
Jergens.
Yeah, I'm sure
Johnson
they're
and
jerking it.
Johnson's, whatever you got.
At
Speaking
the
of Johnson
fucking-
and Johnson.
Yeah,
They may hate
at the
trans
Pride
people.
Festival, straight jerking it.
Stop. We're not killing this man, we're killing ourselves.
It's because I can't bring myself to do it. It's MF Doom. He
Alright,
used to be
kill
so
him.
cool.
Alright.
Kill this man.
I'll start the murder, I suppose.
No, I'm fine to start the murder because I gotta get this off of my chest.
Okay.
Dog, this suit fucking sucks. It's so bad. First of all, why even this weird cat beast? But holy shit, the black cat suit was objectively better in every way.
I think that's where the bottom half came from.
Almost assuredly, which is frustrating because there are so many pieces of the suit that are a different fur color. Why is that? Keep the fur color consistent, you motherfuckers. I hate you so much.
I don't think this is the actor's body. Why his hips going crazy?
Why are
like
his
that?
hips going crazy like that?
What's
Why did you
happening?
make him a cat person? What about Barham screams cat person to you? Why are his tusks in his neck? What
His
is
thick-
happening?
His thick, loose-skinned neck.
Why-
Like a walrus.
His cat face is so ill-fitting, and it looks terrible because it's the color of his mask, which is not the color a cat face should be at all.
How do I describe? Like, his face doesn't look like it roars like a cat. It looks like it goes row.
Oh God, it does.
It does.
Yeah, a motherfucking cowardly lion looking ass.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Oh,
if
you're right. Now that you say it, he
with a
really
king
does.
of the go.
Okay, there he is. He's if the cowardly lion did a like bargain bin cosplay of Green Ranger from Power Rangers Fury. Like,
God,
Oh
true,
my god,
yes.
you're right. They did. He shaved. They shaved him and they dipped him in tar and he put on a little
It's so
green
it's,
helmet.
It's so wild.
It's-
He's so funny, and I think the cowardly lion description feels so apt. I was going to bring up at some point.
Oh
His
God,
mouth
that
does
one.
not articulate,
No.
but they do try to move it sometimes, so it just kind of mushes around a little bit, and it's really funny.
and we were talking about how Durham has like really nice layering to the suit. It's very clear and defined. I have no idea what's
The
happening.
layering
here.
on this suit.
I don't know what
sucks.
What
this
do you?
is.
I'm
I
just.
need to
Oh, no.
fucking point out his two fucking chest tusks.
Yeah.
Why does he have those? What are those
I don't-
doing there?
No idea.
It's
They like come out of the base of his rib cage in the front.
like I want to give these suits more credit because again they are not doing what we have been complaining about with these suits for the entire series. They're not just doing exactly what you'd expect, but I don't know if this is better.
I'm with King Fats on this one. I need to see the concept art.
Yeah.
Because that's the
Like-
thing. Is these I can almost see the vision in my head. Like I can't truly see it because I don't know what they were thinking, but just especially with all of our other previous little interactions, our little run-ins that we've had with Kamen Rider concept art. Because like every time we've ever seen something that we've really enjoyed and then seen the concept art of it, we've always been like, oh man, this concept art is amazing. And like this is maybe the one like major miss I've ever like encountered Crabat notwithstanding, because your mileage will vary on that one. But like, I feel like this is like the first. These are like the first big, like commonly agreed upon misses, and I'm just like, what? What was the vision? What were they thinking? What were they trying to do when they first pitched these suits? That's what I want to know.
I'm crying. I I need to see the vision. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just... Imagine if you went to a restaurant and you said, I'm sorry, this burger is good, but it's a little undercooked, and you get it sent back. And then they bring you a hockey puck of charcoal. Like, it's such an overcorrection that it's... You have misinterpreted what I have said.
Yeah, you fucked up, actually.
Yeah, I mean, overcorrecting out of spite. It almost feels like that sort of... I don't believe that's what this is here, but like, it is... This is the most baffling suit, I think, thus far. There have been plenty of suits where I'm like, I see what they were going for, but I didn't like the execution, or I just don't like how it turned out.
Yeah, this is the first one where I well and truly, what the fuck were you cooking, my man?
I'm utterly perplexed.
This is an important suit.
This is an extremely important suit.
I just don't understand how they, like, because I truly believe that whoever was making this suit would be able to do better if they were given the proper resources. And so it just leads me to believe that they just didn't have them, and something happened that completely threw it off. Like, did the suits get finished and then burn, and then they had to make them in a week or something? Like, what? There has to be something.
You make such an excellent point. Yeah, there is a very pure energy of, like, something has gone wrong here. Touches the ground, something terrible has happened here. You are so correct about that. There is such a pure energy of just, like, not sure what, but yeah, something. There was some either misstep in communication, or, like you said, like some kind of an accident or something. But it's so, especially just comparatively. Again, I think that's the thing, right? That's the biggest thing to keep coming back to as to why there are problems with these suits. I think maybe in a vacuum, these suits might have been okay. But they are not in a
Not
vacuum.
at all, yeah.
They are instead backdropped as being the 3 worst out of 37 episodes worth of... I'm not gonna, like, say truly phenomenal. I'm not gonna give the show that much praise, but fuck. We have had 37 episodes of damn good suits. Like, every other suit that has come up has been, like, even at their worst, they have still been, like, good, very good suits.
Black Cat.
A few exceptions
I think
aside.
Black Cat is a good suit. That's the thing. I think Black Cat is an excellent example of, at its worst, it's still a good suit. It's not great. It's not, like, amazing. It's not mind-blowing. It's not reinventing the wheel, but it is a good suit. It's well made. It, like, very clearly shows off what visual it's trying to show off, right? Like, you look at that thing and you're like, yeah, that is a Black Cat monster. Is it amazing? Hell no, but it's solid.
Like, it's definitely more readable, but I think its quality is on par. And the fact that the quality and readability of this is so low is just fascinating.
Yeah. It's just, when you have that comparison to all of the other suits. Especially to all of the other suits, too, because I went to look at the Black Cat suit again, and I was reminded of the Jewel Beetle suit, and the plant woman from the Haunted House episode, and the earwig suit, and the turtle suit, and the mammoth suit, and the crab suit, and it was just like, damn, right, we've had some good-ass fucking suits in the show. And now there's this. What happened? What the fuck happened? I demand you tell me. I need to know.
Well, the thing is, they immediately run away and break into some office building. I don't know.
Yeah, but they break into the UN.
Oh, right, yes. Me? And they declared war on the country.
Yeah, it's their war on love and peace.
Love and peace. I think
they have a theme.
No, I'm sorry. It was a war declaration of love and death. Never mind. Peas are fine.
Yeah, never mind. So chaos ensues as they begin attacking the public, and as the official death counter, I've got to say it's really funny. I think it's really funny. That nobody died.
No one?
I could not find anything that was actually reasonably confirmed death in this entire scene. It was really funny.
That is actually really funny in hindsight. How do you declare war against an entire, people and, attack the United Nations in order to do so, and also not kill anyone?
When you look this bad, maybe it's that easy.
God, true. Well, and to be fair, fucking Bisham's only ability now is her Beyblade wind power. God, that thing is so dumb.
It's so funny, though.
I used to like the priest so much. I'm legitimately kind of disappointed.
That's fair.
It's just, I don't know how to vocalize all of this, because it's just truly a peculiar set of suits, because they range from quality, and it's just, I want to know what happened.
Maybe they got too ambitious in some cases.
Yeah, I can see them being getting so ambitious and keep doing reworks until they just were like, oh, we need a shoot tomorrow.
I'm sorry, I can't recall if we mentioned this. One more thing about Baraom. Did we mention his long, greasy hair?
No.
Oh, God,
He's
no,
got
we
long,
didn't.
greasy hair.
Yeah.
Long, greasy hair now.
And, biker spiky shoulder pads.
We gotta stop talking about this dude.
I hope he dies first.
Oh,
I hope he dies first.
But as...
I hope he dies first painfully.
I hope they all die painfully, but him most especially, because he committed the most grievous sin of all, which is having a transformation, but looking worse for it.
It's, yeah, really.
Glow down. What a downgrade.
You legitimately hate to see it, because, fuck.
You had to
absolutely
nearly
awful.
Die for this, and this is what you have to show for it.
Yeah.
People definitely didn't die in this scene, though, and there are two important things. One is definitely important, the other I'm hoping is important, but might not be. I don't know, we'll find out. So, Golgum has declared war on the UN, on Japan, as a nation, and the news reports on this. So, Golgum is now in the public eye. People know about Golgum, people know about the threat of Golgum, people know about their intentions to wage war on the country. During this scene when they're wreaking havoc in public, Kotaro shows up. They look at him, and they say, "Minami Kotaro, you have arrived," and then he transforms into the Kamen Rider in an open street in broad daylight in front of 30 people. And I'm thinking, is the cat out of the bag now? Is everything public now?
It is, but that part specifically doesn't matter.
I'm going to holler.
Listen, here's the thing. we established the important thing. That being that Kyoko knows.
We didn't really talk about that scene.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this scene very much, but it at the end of episode 34, and then leading into the opening of episode 35, Bergenia has Kotaro cornered as he is trying to rescue Kyoko. They fall off of a cliff and escape underneath some rocks on the seaside, and it is during this situation in which Kotaro, like, loses his transformation, which allows Kyoko to formally learn that he has been Kamen Rider Black, which also then, when they're talking about it later, Kyoko's like, I kind of knew. It was pretty obvious. I just didn't say
Which I
anything about it.
appreciate.
But, like, yeah, I do appreciate that as well.
She kind of, the way they phrase the entire scene is very much, she tried to uphold the secret in some mixed sentiment of denial at what he had been turned into or become, and also because she loves him. I would like to think she was trying to protect his secret as well, but I can't deny it. In the Showa era Kamen Riders, people are kind of horrified at, like, just the inherent nature of the cyborgification without enough respect, in my opinion, to the fact that these people didn't ask for this. He was, in a sense, disfigured forcefully, and I don't think it's fair to hold that against him as something that makes him less human. I know, obviously, it's a weird case. It's not like they just, like, gave him facial scars or something. They made him capable of turning into a super robot Bugman who's 100 times stronger than a normal person. I get that it's technically different. I just mean...
Yeah, it's interesting in that he is kind of just actually, like, it's not an exaggeration. He kind of is just less human now, though.
I think it's unfortunate how horrified they are in this regards, not so much in a sympathetic way, but so much they're reacting to the inherent horror of it in a way that makes me as a viewer feel really bad for the Kamen Rider when they're like, I have been turned into this, and in their loved one, I don't think I'm supposed to hold it against them, even though I as the viewer do. I don't think it's the intention of the writing. They're like, don't say it! You've been turned into this horrible thing! And I'm like, he's right there. He didn't have a say in
He's right there. He didn't choose to become a
like...
cyborg, not like Hongo did.
Oh, Hongo.
I'll always hold that first episode against him. You could have walked away, my man.
He had to kill them.
He had to kill him. He got punked on the road by some mods he had never seen before and said, not in my fucking house,
Yeah,
you don't.
I love it.
And what happened? What happened for it? Got your ass turned into a cyborg.
That's what you get.
Like, well and truly, Hongo has no one to blame but himself. And I think that's incredibly sexy of him, actually.
Honestly, yeah, the bloodlust wins out over the 600 IQ every time. But yeah, no one died in the scene, except a number of windows. And we know that Kyoko knows. I feel like there's an implication that Katsumi might know, based on the way Kyoko talks about it, and the few scenes we've had where Kyoko and Katsumi are explicitly like, huh? You don't think? But, we don't have a confirmation on that yet. Obviously, they know about Nobuhiko. And when was it? There's a brief scene where they decide that they're sad, so they go home. It might be in this episode 36, yeah. They go home, and they're like, let's cheer up. And it turns out Nobuhiko is waiting for them there.
I don't think they even intentionally went home. I think they were just, like, wandering around
in the streets.
and ended up there.
Yeah. They do go in, though.
And what's her face? Kyoko is like, listen, we should go in. Yeah, there are bad memories there, but there's good memories too, and we should see if we can relive those.
Because Katsumi's very sad at the revelation that Nobuhiko has become Shadow Moon, and did not listen to their initial pleas to just, like, forget about it and come home. So he's waiting inside, and he's like, I might be Shadow Moon, but I still care about you too. So, and they're like, no, you're, like, super evil and stuff. So he just kind of flashbangs and leaves. And that's the whole scene. And my heart latched on so hard to this. So this scene ties pretty heavily into what I wanted out of the next episode. This scene of Nobuhiko expressing that he still has love and care for his girlfriend and his sister, that he still cares about his family, enough to wander away from the organization just for the opportunity to offer them protection. I'm weak. I'm so weak for that. He's the villain who's obsessed with protecting their loved ones is a trope I will never be over.
Hi, it's me. I would like to be one of the loved ones, please. Please protect me.
I also think that there's a very non-relatable moment here. Katsumi just says, "No, I'm not gonna be a henchman for you."
Yeah, she's built different. I'd hench in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I wrote down, like, anti-B-drops moments.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah, really?
I got called out in the notes in private. Oh, my God.
Called out in the notes.
Yeah, no,
Listen, that just means you have a brand that's well established. I love brand recognition.
My branding might appear to be a butler, but at my heart, I'm a henchman.
I mean, what's the difference, really?
You're so right.
A butler is legally allowed to be employed.
Oh, okay.
You know,
That's
that's
fair.
fair. Granted, on the papers, I imagine henchmen are probably called something like assistants, executive assistants, associate. I don't know. I guess it depends on the field they're working in, but you know, administrative assistant.
This is my secretary!
He's dressed like a cartoon butterfly. Cool. That's just the uniform of our workplace. Don't worry about it.
We're doing a booth at Comic-Con in a couple of hours. So the costume is for that.
Right. What field are you in? What line of work are you in again?
It's a costume shop.
I see that. Okay.
Hence the costumes.
Okay, and do you mostly work in original costumes? I see you're sporting original designs, and not what I imagine would probably be generally more in line with the orders of your regular clientele. I could be wrong, but
Listen, we do everything. We do all kinds.
I see.
Listen, are you gonna sit here and giving me the 12th degree for an hour and a half, or are you gonna let me through?
I have to set the bit aside. I'm sorry. So our new monstrous forms of the Golgum priests. They suck. Who cares? Kotaro fights them for a bit, and then they just leave.
That's it in the nutshell. They
suck.
Who cares?
They didn't kill him. They leave, and that's it. On to the last episode of the evening. Now I know what you're thinking. That was a lot of plot. What happens next? I don't know. We'll find out when they get back to it.
Yeah. Episode 37, let's go to a wedding.
My first note is back to life, I suppose. I'm sorry, Katsumi, because they go to a wedding, and I appreciate that they give a moment for her to just be, like, really sad about it. I think the flashback to them frolicking in the middle of a street was kind of unnecessary, but it is a kid's show, so that's okay.
I'm not gonna lie, there's a distinct disappointment for me, because my first note was not paid off at all. We were getting all of these tourist attraction establishing shots, which included some shots of a theme park. And so my first note was, fuck yes, theme park episode. We didn't go to a fucking theme park. I wanted to go to the theme park. I wanted to watch Kamen Rider fight someone on a roller coaster.
Unfortunately.
But no.
At a wedding, Katsumi gets kidnapped by a giant cricket. We didn't really talk about it, because it wasn't important whatsoever, but there's a scene in episode 36 wherein we see a number of monsters that we have not seen before just talking to Shadow Moon. I kind of took note of them. There's like a blue fish man, like a piranha man. There's a like stag beetle man. There's like a millipede man. There's something, I don't know what it is. It's like a sludgy Hedora with eyes on its chest sort of thing. There's just a rat. And then there's something I called a fuzzy insect man. He appears in this episode. Turns out he's a cricket. I guess I can kind of see it in hindsight, but the more I look at him, the more I question everything. It's a fantastic suit, but he's very hairy bug.
Right back to the quality of what we were used to. Yeah, the more I look at this creature, the more I think, boy, I guess I just don't fucking know what a cricket looks like.
When I look at this and a cricket side by side, I'm like, I see where you're coming from. But when I look at it in isolation, like, obviously based on my note from before, if you told me to guess what bug this was, I probably wouldn't have guessed cricket. I mean, to be fair, I'm no entomologist, but a cricket, I guess, has just like such a unique silhouette in my mind that's what sticks out to me first. Also the leg spines, which I think a lot of this hair is supposed to replicate, which I think is a shame because, you know, those like spines that they make the noise with on their legs when they rub them together. Because this thing is literally covered in them, I thought, okay, this thing is gonna make crazy noise. It doesn't, at all. It's sensitive to light, and it makes, like, light lassos out of its mouth. I don't know. It's purple lasso beam. It's a very good suit. The powers confuse me, but I like the suit. Katsumi gets kidnapped, and this is the point where I had expectations for this episode based on the last episode, because this is another trope I'm very obsessed with. The villain being a villain who wants to protect their loved ones when their loved ones reject them because of their villainy. The villain takes the safety of their loved ones into their own hands and says, you don't want to come willingly? Then you will be taken by force. I will keep you safe by any means necessary, was what I was hoping was happening. I thought he was just taking her because he could, so he could keep her safe. Guess what didn't happen at all, I guess. That...
Yeah, there was, you dreamed too high into the sky.
Remember that episode where a child was swinging around metal pipes for 15 minutes?
Yes.
It's just that again.
But it's Katsumi this time, yeah. Except the Cricket Man is here the whole time, so it's like both of them. And if you're wondering, didn't that kid, like, try to kill a bunch of kids? Well, that didn't change. That's still here. We still have that.
Yeah, we're still doing trial.
Yeah, Katsumi hijacks a bus full of kindergartners.
Yeah!
So insane.
Shadow Moon, my fucking goat.
Real quick, there's a tiny thing that made me think about, you know, the last episode wherein I was like, oh my god, is the cat out of the bag? Does everybody know who's Kamen Rider Black? So, the woman who just got buried at the beginning of this episode, she's, I guess, a close friend of Katsumi. I don't know. We're making assumptions. It's not explored. She's very invested in finding Katsumi, and she joins them in the search. She gets tied up on the second floor of, like, this warehouse when Kotaro comes to rescue her, and he just, out of nowhere, just does a 12-foot vertical leap to go try to untie her, and then he also transforms and fights. And I'm like, so she just knows he's Kamen Rider Black. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, he doesn't transform in this scene, I'm sorry, but he does do the 12-foot vertical leap, and he does fight a giant cricket man, and everybody has to know who's Kamen Rider Black by now, right?
I still doubt it. And I don't know why, but I don't think
you're right. It's just
people know.
My brain sees all of this happening and thinks, well, Kuga would have known that this makes it public, and that's my bad. I shouldn't do that.
Kuga would have dealt with the ramifications of fucking Yusuke transforming in public like that. Kuga would have had an episode that started with the fucking shop being flooded with people trying to get in to see him, and he wouldn't
It'd
even
be like
be
that
there.
Episode of Avatar The Last Airbender where Aang gets, like, really popular because they find out he's the Avatar, and he just does, like, really mundane party tricks for them, and they get bored of him entirely. That's exactly what Yusuke would do. He would, like, juggle, and they'd be like, wow, Kamen Rider can juggle. And he would do mundane tricks until they're like, okay, you're just a guy. This sucks. And then I would cry because they don't appreciate him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't get it.
They don't get it.
They don't fucking understand.
You are worse off for being immune to the Odagiri effect, is my take.
True.
Anyway, Katsumi hijacked a bus full of kindergarteners and rammed it into a building.
Yeah. This was my favorite part of the episode for sure. Hey guys, y'all remember earlier in this podcast episode when I talked about how we had some other pretty good child acting performances for, I think, entirely different reasons? Boy, we had some scared fucking little kids on this bus. There is a scene where Kasumi hijacks this bus full of children, and she's just fucking swerving it down the highway. And I am trying to think, I imagine there was maybe a way where they could have faked that effect. And I am also imagining there was probably not a need to. And when I look at the faces on the close-up of these children, I just can't help but think, aw, man, I think you children are doing a wonderful job.
It's gotta be tough at that age, because I'm not really exaggerating when I say they're like kindergartners, maybe. They're very small. They're definitely at that age where children don't have a strong grasp of separating, fiction from reality, acting from reality, that sort of thing.
There was just one kid where they did a close-up on him, and I had to just make a note. I was like, oh, that poor little boy looked like he was having a
he
bad
might have
time.
legitimately been having a bad time.
I think he probably actually was.
Poor kid.
Which, I mean, yeah, good acting, great. It really sold the scene visually, but yeah, I think this one was maybe rough on the kids.
And I don't imagine it was much better when they get inside the warehouse and Katsumi starts trying to, like, strangle these kids and break their neck or something. She's trying to get them and kill them. And, it's a whole thing. So Kamen Rider Black has to come and save them. He has to transform in there, which now I get to say, yes, he's transformed in front of this whole class full of children, as well as,
well, listen, they're too traumatized, they'll never remember.
Yeah, he's accosted by the cricket, and all of the frickin' priests show up, and Nobuhiko shows up.
Fucking 1v4'd.
It's crazy, so he's, like, trying to fend them all off, but he needs to stop Katsumi, he's going to kill a bunch of children. He realizes that he has the power of flashbang, which apparently is more than anyone here can take, which is really funny.
Listen, it's because it was the Kingstone flashbang.
I just think it's funny that even Nobuhiko and the Golden Priests post-transformation couldn't take it. They just left. When he did that, they just left.
They just did.
It's so funny how quick the priests are to bail.
I will bring up this note that I made, just because I just kind of on a whim as I was writing my notes, as he did that Kingstone flash in order to win the day, I wrote a note in that style that I do, where I was like, fuck yeah, man, I love the solar flare. And then I had the thought, actually, I wonder which of these came first. Was a solar flare done before Kamen Rider Black did the Kingstone flash, or did Kamen Rider Black do the Kingstone flash before a solar flare was ever done?
I have a quick answer for you, but I just looked it up. Solar Flare in the anime first appeared in an episode that aired on December 30th, 1987, which obviously came out at least a while after the manga. I would have to look up, this is episode 94 of the anime. I would need to look up the chapters this adapts and when those were published, and that is definitively before this, so Dragon Ball wins.
Congratulations, Dragon Ball. So yeah, Kingstone Flash wins the day. Rider punch, Rider kick. You know at this point. We unbrainwashed Kasumi, which is great. We love when we do that.
All the kids were so okay with her after that, which I find really funny.
Oh, fuck!
Huh?
Yeah. You just unlocked a very important detail in my memory about this episode. Do you guys remember why we kidnapped a bus full of children?
Oh my god, I don't.
For fun?
Why was that again?
I believe it is Kasumi is the one who works at that daycare.
They call her Keiko Sensei.
Okay, it was. I was gonna say it was either Kasumi or Kasumi's friend that she had with her, but like one of those two worked at that daycare. It is made slightly better by the fact that it's not actually Kasumi. But I was just thinking, like, could you imagine being a kid and then being in that situation and then having to continue going to that school? And you just have to
No.
believe all of the other adults when
Nah.
they say Kasumi Sensei is fine now and she didn't mean it.
I've had negative interactions with teachers, but not I can say thank God not a single one of my teachers has ever kidnapped and tried to murder me. That's literally never happened to me before. I have the privilege of saying, no, I can't imagine that. That sounds horrible, especially as a child.
Because they're
small
like
child.
kindergartners.
They're not like they're not like a high schooler who would be like, Mom, Dad, I think I need to transfer schools for this reason. They're a tiny kid who'd be like, I don't know what happened and it's over, but I'm scared.
Yeah, all that would happen is they would come home one day and they'd be like, I'm scared of Kasumi Sensei now. And the parents would be like, oh, you're being silly. Go back to school and I'm sure you'll find that Kasumi Sensei is just as nice as she always is. And, like, they wouldn't be able to articulate, hey, she kidnapped me and tried to kill me.
These little kids also probably haven't been watching the news in a way that they actually digested into their lives. So they probably aren't like, Golgum, this strange organization that seems to employ literal humanoid monsters, has declared war on Japan, and thus when we encountered 4 humanoid monsters and a cyborg today, they might have been affiliated with this organization, and I should tell my parents that we were attacked by Golgum. No, these poor children have no clue. These poor
Children
kids.
have no fucking idea.
If there's one thing they learned today, it's that their teacher can't throw hands, though. Keiko Sensei is intensely and pathetically weak against a woman of the same size as her, and I wouldn't trust her with my life.
Listen, you could say that, like, Katsumi is getting a Shadow Moon boost. I refuse to believe this. I think she's just built different, and if her and Keiko threw hands, Keiko would fucking lose.
I believe it. The evidence really supports it.
You think the kid from the Beetle episode went to this school?
I hope not.
He's
probably...
he's older than that, but...
Oh, is he? Okay, well...
Yeah, he was like elementary school level, luckily.
Thank goodness.
Still, if they could afford to send him to school anymore.
But you know who isn't older than this level of schooling, and in fact probably would have been right around there at the time? The little girl from the fucking haunted house episodes?
Oh my god.
She could have gone to this school.
She's been through enough. She's been through enough.
Honestly, for the sake of the other kids, I kind of hope she does.
If she can guide them through
Yeah,
their
she
trauma.
can be like, oh, listen, that was Golgum, they're bad guys, and then Kamen Rider saves you, it's fine.
Oh my god, is that what happened to your mom?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't. Yeah, that's right.
That poor girl. She's been through too much. I don't think I have anything else to add to this outside of, at the very end, when Kotaro is fighting the cricket and defeats him, the cricket explodes at the same time they're playing the intro theme when it would say black. Kamen Rider black. It blows up on that note, and I think that's fun. That's my last note.
This is better than my last note. My last note was that solar flare thing I talked about.
I have very silly notes.
You said that like I don't.
Well, I mean, because the last notes ends with, I have faith for the plot of this series, because it was still sort of a plot episode. It was somewhat relevant. So that's foolish of me, I think.
I'm so sorry. I was hoping to.
Yeah.
I was hoping this was an episode about Nobihiko and Katsumi. being torn apart.
And then my last actual note, isn't it sad that Batman survived longer than Boogeyman?
Yeah,
This
Sucks.
this guy sucks, and I'm sick of him.
Oh, brother. This guy stinks.
What does a henchman do when they outlast the villain?
They become the villain.
No, they get like a corporate takeover. You're my henchman now to another villain, and it sucks.
I mean, rip to other henches, I'm built different.
Unfortunately, I think at this point I have to say the Batman in this series is the perfect henchman. He's doing the bare minimum. He is coasting by on the bare minimum. He's not aiming for accolades. He's not aiming for promotions. He's not aiming to be the guy who defeats Kamen Rider. He only seems to fight him when he is sicked on him explicitly. He's just doing the bare minimum he can to survive, and that's why he's still here. And that's kind of impressive given the survival rate of all the monsters in this franchise.
Honestly, yeah.
But he sucks for it, and I hate it.
That's so fair. Honestly, it's fair and you should say it. Get his ass.
I don't have to respect him for it.
Nor should you.
You must die with honor. Is it meaningful? Probably not, but that's the life of a hench, isn't it? What meaning is your life or death, more specifically, going to have otherwise, huh?
Exactly.
Die for the cause.
Die for the cause. This is the hench's code.
Exactly.
Maybe I do like Batman because you're so
Oh, no.
Well, no, you're so right. He's the perfect henchman. Well, he's doing it in a perfect way because he's just doing what he needs to. He shows up, he clocks in, clocks out, and goes home. He has a healthy life balance. And I think that's respectable.
That's so fair. I don't respect him for it, but it is respectable. That's fair.
Yeah, like, it's reluctantly, I need to admit that, like, he's the most responsible character in the series, and that's worth some points. But I'm still not sure about him. I don't know.
That's fair. Maybe someday we'll see him die permanently and we conform our opinions. In the meantime, though, that's all I have.
Yeah, I think we've said everything there is for us to say about these episodes.
Maybe we can talk about the people who have already died.
Let us be given the information with which we may attempt a proper mourning by sojourning over to everyone's favorite part of the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you know it, you love it. It's the death count with B-Drops.
And the window count. We've been a little dry lately. These episodes are a little uneven. All of the window breaks are in a single episode, in episode 36, during the Golgum Priest's attack on the public. That's where all of our window breaks are. So we get 4 of those. That brings us up to a total of 30. As for the death count, we also kind of pull back a bit, because these episodes focused more on plot than Monster of the Week formulas, so that did result in less deaths. Interestingly, though, we do have an even spread between Team Rider and Golgum this week. They are tied at 2 apiece, with 4 deaths total for these 5 episodes, which brings us to a total of 47 kills for Team Rider, 17 kills for Team Golgum, and a total of 64 kills as of Kamen Rider Black episode 37.
You know, that's not actually that bad. That is still, like, roughly 2 kills an episode.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Not the bloodbath of Ichigo, but it is not insignificant.
Listen, we're more measured these days.
Yeah, it's true. I'm still waiting to see if there will be a boss rush episode.
I'm excited to see if that's the case as well.
It's feeling less likely the further we go, though, honestly.
You know, it's so funny that you say that.
Oh?
Well, because now is the part traditionally where I start telling our friends what episodes are we going to cover next, so that you too can be caught up when next we meet for our podcast. And as we have been doing, we're going to do another set of 5 next time. Those are going to be episodes 38 through 42. Those would include Riddle, the EP Party Boy Squad, The Idol's Evil Power, The Karate Master's Secret, The Dangerous Time Thief, and Tokyo Big Monster Gathering.
Oh my god, the Monster Conference is next week?
The Monster Conference is next week in Tokyo.
Oh my god, we have to go.
We gotta go to the Monster Conference. We hope we see you there. We'll be at the Monster booth, but Tish. It's a joke on like 6 levels. It's a joke on like 2 levels. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed. We hope that you had a good time talking about Kamen Rider with us. You know these various people's socials and the various things they do. You should go check them out. We hope that you have enjoyed. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your Friday. We hope you have an excellent weekend. Be good to each other. Stay safe. Love each other. All that good stuff. And as always, remember, if you can't believe in God and you can't believe in Buddha, you can always believe in Kamen Rider.